Okay, so we're going to record in one, two, three. Welcome to another conversation this afternoon on Tuesday, January 28th, 2024. And I am joined here by Becky Coles. Becky, Happy New Year. And it's great to be able to chat about the world of news and broadcasting today.
Yeah, Happy New Year, Ellie. It's been a while.
Oh, it's been a long time, it feels like.
I know.
Yeah. I want to let's start by, of course, you have, you did see that Roy Green officially hung up the mic,
hmm
um, and obviously it was due to the stage four cancer, where he's going to need to devote that time. Honestly, I did listen to the show, his last show. I was honestly, I've honestly been very, honestly, I've been really sad about this. What's your perspective here?
I find that kind of thing really emotional. Like, I'm an emotional person, but
Me too. Yeah.
um, when it's stuff like that, because it's his choice, but it's not his choice, right? So
Yes.
it's, you get let go or, times change and you watch those announcements. And when you're allowed to say goodbye, you go, well, that's really sad. But then when it's someone that, especially when it's a health thing and it's like, this is their life. And I think that's something that people don't always appreciate about any career, but especially broadcasting, where it's like, this is all we knew that we wanted to do. Like some people fall into it by accident, but a lot of us, that's all we knew we wanted. So then when you get it taken away from you on not on your terms, I always just have an issue with that. And especially someone like Roy that's been doing this for so long, that just to go, like how hard the decision must have been for him to do that and say, yeah, you know what? Like obviously your health is important, but to say that I can't do both at the same time.
Yeah, and I think and something we will never know whether it was actually his decision or um or whether the way whether or if it was the way that they played it. I think it could have been here's my honest perspective on what, and I'd love to share that with you.
Yeah.
And my honest perspective was, and I say this because we both know how the industry is going, that I feel that they could have spun it to him, and they must, and they could have, and they said, "quote, you know, we know, that your health isn't great. You've got stage four cancer. We want to, we want to make more cutbacks, but but we want to give you the opportunity. So we are letting you go, but we want to give you the opportunity to do it how you want." So, and he must have said to them, quote, and I think he said, quote, "Well, give me a month to wrap it up and wind it down the way I want." Quote. Obviously,
Yeah.
we don't know, but that's my perspective.
And it's interesting because now whenever someone says it gets a chance to say goodbye and then says, um, well, I want to spend more time with my family, or,
Yes.
one of these things, and you go, I believe that. But then I also like, I believe you want to spend more time with your family, or I believe you want to get cured of cancer. But I also am skeptical now, where I just go like, I find it hard to believe that it's completely them. I feel like, okay, well, were you told that we'll sweeten the pot if you're willing to leave and make it seem like you're leaving on your own? And I hate feeling that way, because I'd like to think that some people really do just feel that way and say, I'm leaving, and that's fine. And so, but I also know how the business works. And so I just always wonder to myself, well, is that really what happened? Um, or were you just told that, we'll let you go quietly?
So so you kind of agree with my sentiment here.
Yeah, exactly. I think obviously the health thing was definitely part of it, but I think
Yep.
that might have helped them ask him to leave, right?
Yeah. And he did also, like he did say that there are some, quote, new meds and new treatments that are going to become, that I will need to be available. I'll need to make myself available for that, quote.
Yeah, I believe that part, but
I do too.
I also feel like an employer, especially for someone like him, like would be able to find concessions to make to make it all work, you know, and I don't know what that means. Like it could be that he tapes part of it or that they move it around, but I think just the timing kind of worked out for him. And this doesn't mean it, or certainly doesn't mean that it's the last we've heard of him, that's for sure.
I feel it is, honestly.
Yeah, you don't think he'll do a podcast, you know what I mean? Like just something on his own.
No.
Oh,
Um,
interesting.
Now, because having conversations as well, and I've had some conversations as well with people who with at least I'm connected with at least one person who worked with him. It was actually a friend of this show too.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
Um, Actually, you know what, Rick Zamprin.
Oh, okay.
Um, and shout out to you, Rick. That and he had initially, because we were sort of talking about back in back like way before, like back kind of when the whole shutdown of CHML happened afterward, and we were talking about what, like, do we see him doing a podcast or an and and he said, I don't imagine, I don't I, he had said that he never saw Roy doing a podcast, and I sort of believe that. um I mean, I sort of believe it because Um, now of course, and I even asked him, like, he said that, like, I've asked him a bunch of different, like Roy, a bunch of different, like, and he's like, my main sort of focus will be to focus on my health. Quote.
Oh yeah, and I believe that. I just feel
I do
like
too.
if he's feeling better, the amount of people that I know that say, "Well, no, I'm done with it. I'm not going to do a podcast," then all of a sudden they surface because they can't, they miss that communication. They miss sharing information and having an opinion on things. So, but if he's able to shut it off like that, good for him because that's difficult too to get. You know, it's that whole once I thought I was out, they pulled me back in. You know.
Yeah, and even somebody like even somebody like Dave Trafford is a
Yep.
good example too.
Yeah,
Because
he's like Sinatra. He's tried to retire so many times.
yeah, right. But the fact of the matter is that he's someone's perspective that you want to hear,
Hmm.
right? And, like, with the work that he does with Now and Next, and and people that he has on a part of that panel, like people like Anne Marie Aikens and people like that who are also just as enthusiastic about what's going on in the news.
Hmm.
It's nice to hear that kind of perspective.
Yeah, and now with the election coming in Ontario,
Oh yeah,
he's gonna do something every day, and he was telling me all the guests he's gonna have on, and I was like, "Holy cow!" Like he's gonna have some really heavy hitters and people that are gonna come on and share their opinions. I think that's really cool.
yeah. Speaking of, what are your thoughts here on the Ontario election? Like now, on this call of the election, it was just official. I'm in agreement with everybody who's been saying that we don't need one.
We don't need one, and we're Doug. Where's my check? I'm still waiting. It hasn't come in the mail yet, and I think it's convenient that it got sent out after the postal strike was over. But no, like
Yeah,
I think we're all joking about that check, but it's. I don't think we need one based on everything I understand and the experts that I've heard talk about it. I
yeah.
don't think we need one either.
No,
Um, but I understand why he called one.
yeah. To So he can prop up the vote, so
Yeah.
he can just secure himself another majority.
Yeah, exactly. Like it reminds me of a few times when Trudeau has run and we're like, well, we need one, but you know full well you're gonna win. So okay, like and so I always find that a huge waste of time and money, but um that's fine. Like, what are we supposed to do about it? Like if no one goes to the polls, that's a problem. And I have a big problem with the amount of people that don't vote. So I don't want to say, well, we should all just protest that way. It's like, no, but we should all go out and vote. And if you have a problem with him calling an election, then go vote and vote against him. Like that's how you have your voice heard. It might not make a difference in the result, but at least you can feel like you've said something about it.
Well, I mean, it's true, but here's the thing. I mean, I think certainly he's like. I mean, and now, like, it might be a case where the conservatives and liberals will be neck and neck here.
Hmm.
Might be a
Yeah.
case of that because I think, I don't know. Like I think see I you know what? His only sort of see the reason now that he said that the announcement was put out there that oh the healthcare funding and this and that is to get votes
Yep.
because he's done nothing to and even education. There was no one else in there, but the Conservative Party has done and him they've done nothing in terms of that. So
Yeah.
now it's like, well, let's get let's do it. Let's get the votes. Let's do it and let's figure this out. And then when he get if he gets elected with a majority, is he going to continue to follow through with it?
Well, that's always the scary thing, right? Is
Yes.
you hear promises and then you go, okay, well, you're actually going to follow through, or are we going to have another disappointment on our hands?
Well, yeah, maybe. I mean, certainly another disappointment there, right? No, it's certainly crazy enough. Like you've got people who like are there, and now you've got like he's making the excuse because of to fight the tariffs, which
Yeah.
I don't think I don't feel for a second that that is necessarily the case.
No, but I think it's whoever came up with that messaging is smart because you know that people are going to go, yeah, we got to fight them because that's what, anyone that's paying attention to it is quite worried about what's going to happen there. So I see why you would say that, but I was kind of like, oh, is that what we have to do? And then a few people that I really like and respect, including Lori Goldstein, posted like this whole fact checking thing about like, no, this isn't how it has to work. And I was like, okay, well, if people like him are saying that, then I'm going to follow their knowledge. And then that's it. Like, so then why are we doing it? And then it all comes back to the votes, right?
Yeah, big fan of Lori Goldstein's work.
Yeah, I really like Lori.
Yeah, and Joe Warmington.
Hmm.
Yeah, and both of them were on. Were both of them were actually guests on the last Roy Green show.
See, that tells you everything you need to know.
Yes, yes. No, and that's it. I mean, the what is it like 100? It's a cost of 140 million or whatever.
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, for an election. Like, wait a minute. I don't like. But now some people have said like that quote that they'd rather see an election than go to war. Which, yeah, maybe I agree with, but we don't need one right here.
Yeah, I always find that an interesting comparison because I don't think it's fair to compare a war to an election. Because
Yeah.
really we can do whatever we want, especially if you look at the US, what's going on. And there's it's like that's a really big bully to pick a fight with. And so like, we can try and fight it other ways, but I think that's what we need to focus on. We need to be focused on the election, not focused on or sorry, we need to be focused on tariffs and focused on our relationship with the US, not focused on the election.
No. Yeah, and I agree with you. Yeah. No, and now what about like see the whole like what did you think like see of Chrystia Freeland just walking out before Christmas out of Trudeau's cabinet?
I think we all found it well, I found it hilarious. I think a lot of people did because I just like how it kind of happened. Like, okay, well, I'm gonna kind of Bigfoot your announcement and I'll tell
Yeah.
everybody what's going on, right? But I also think it sent a message um that she did plan to run for leadership. And I think that was
Yeah.
her way to say, okay, I'm no longer friends with this guy. Because that's one thing that I always have an issue with that so many people are loyal too long. And then it's like, well, why would we vote for you to run it? Because you were loyal to this guy until 2 seconds ago. So, yeah, she was loyal for a long time. And obviously, that's the game you play. But I did like that she kind of came out and said, no, never mind. Like, this is what I'm going to be up to. And I just like the message that she sent, but I don't know if you feel the same way or not.
Yeah. But I mean, Trudeau kind of like first of all, what about then at the beginning of the year of 2025, it was said, well, he's resigning. Well, is he? According to Roy Green doesn't think so, but uh, I don't. I mean, I think he's going. I think there's no choice. I think he has to go now.
Yeah, I think, you and I have talked about this. Like, is he going to go? Is he going to resign? I don't know. And then I think at this point he's done. Like, I just don't,
Yeah.
um, I don't see him sticking around after this. Like it just, I think he'll have other things he wants to focus on, and um, that's if he gets reelected. You never know. Like he might not even get reelected in his riding. So
Well, he's even said though he's not running. He said I'm not going to run in Montreal.
yeah,
He was even asked about it, and he said he's not going to run in the Montreal riding.
yeah. So I think he's
You saw that
finished.
too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think he's done, but who knows?
Yeah. I mean,
Lots of people say they're going away, and then next thing you know, you turn around and they're still there.
well, he's made a mess to be honest with you. Like he made a complete mess of a lot of things, and and some people are also like believing too that people are complaining about Polyev and saying that he doesn't have a plan, but um, but according like, I mean, I think one of the first things he's going to do is clean up this mess.
Yeah, I think it's funny when people say, well, he doesn't have a plan. Well, I'm sure someone has a plan. Nobody sits around waiting for someone like Trudeau to not run again and call an election without, um, without a plan, right? Like Polyev is smarter than that. And so are the NDP. Like, everybody would have a plan, the Greens, everybody. Um, and this is all like there's people that just sit around in a war room and wait for this and strategize and everything else. So there's a plan there. It's just maybe they're not tipping their hand their hand to it yet. They're just kind of keeping it closer to their chest until they're ready to throw it out there, because then they know that just gives the Liberals and the NDP something to go after and something to plan against.
Yes, and with all of that, like I think we're like see, but like I don't first of all I don't agree, I sort of disagree with um the whole proroguing of Parliament.
Hmm.
I disagree with it because now was not the timing to do that. Um, the timing now was to focus on how people are going to deal with, or how we are going to deal, see, with Trump's, first of all, the threat of tariffs.
Hmm.
Not only the Now some people still believe that it's just rhetoric. I don't think now. I don't, because he keeps harping on it now, and he's
Hmm.
even harping on things like on Canada becoming the 51st state. Like these are important issues.
Yeah, and that's where I have an issue with the proroguing, is because it's like this was a bad time to take some time off. Even if we understand why you did it, it's just I don't think that's the right thing to do, because I think we need to show a strong leadership. So even if you say, okay, well, I'm stepping down and as the leader of the party, and that's fine, I think we still need someone in charge. It's kind of like when um you go into a fast food restaurant and clearly the manager isn't there and they've left someone in charge, but no one really knows who that is. So then you try to find, like, can anyone make a decision? And they're all just kind of making decisions. And it's like, no, you still need to pick somebody to lead everybody until a suitable replacement is picked. You can't just kind of say, oh, well, we'll prorogue and kind of figure it out in the background. It's like, no, this should all be happening in in front of everybody and in real time. And I think that to me is the better way to handle it. But I don't know. What do I know? I just vote for people. I don't have to try and run the country.
But what is this like? But see, the problem with Trump is, see, the reason he keeps going about this whole tariff thing and the 51st state thing is because he's taking advantage of the fact that there's no leadership right now.
Yep.
That's what he's taking advantage of.
Yeah. And I think, there was a lot of talk of, well, he's just saying that and he won't actually follow through. And maybe it was on a back burner, on the back of a piece of paper idea. And then when this all happened, I think he said, great, now I can move in because I'm the stronger leader.
Now, what is your gut telling you? Do you think he will?
I don't know. I think,
I agree.
I've had a few discussions with people and they kind of act like I'm being naive, but I really don't know, because I think there's got to be somebody in the room, even if he doesn't listen to them. There's got to be somebody in the room that's going like, Mr. President, this is what we need to focus on, and there's more important things to focus on than that. I think the tariff thing, he's ready to fire, and I think There's no stopping that. What that looks like and to what extent, I don't know. But I think he's for sure serious about that. I think the 51st state thing,
Yeah.
they can't afford us.
No, 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 it's true.
And so I'm not as convinced that the 51st state thing is going to happen. But who knows? Like again, like it's really hard. It's really hard for us to know when we're not hearing all of the conversations and we don't know how stubborn someone is being about trying to push something through.
Well, that's certainly the thing, but I don't understand really though that like he's taking advantage. Like I think he needs to focus on what's really important. And then he had this whole then he had then there was this whole birthright thing that was blocked by a judge.
Hmm.
But knowing him, he'll fire that judge.
Yeah, it's funny you bring up firing the judge because you listen to all these people that have been put in weird places of authority like Elon Musk and everything. And I just think, at any time he could get tired of them or not like what they've said and then just fire them. Like, everyone gets worried and like Elon Musk, I think scares me, but just because he's got weird ideas, but also the money to do something about it. He's kind of like Dr. Evil that way. You know what I mean? Like where
Oh
it's
yeah.
just like endless amounts. But I think Trump and will just say, "Oh, I don't like that, so you're gone." Okay, bye. So, um, like I think that's the kind of the interesting thing that we will see is just a lot of people like, they're his right hand man on whatever, and then he'll be gone because he didn't like the answer. So,
Oh, he's honestly I always describe it as a bit of a circus.
yeah, that's a good way of looking at it.
But we're stuck with him for another 4 years.
I know.
For 4 years.
Yeah, I feel bad for the people that live down there that are truly upset and truly didn't vote for him and they're worried about it. I'm concerned for everybody involved, but the people that just like that was the watching the inauguration was the worst day for them and they just now they all they can do is count down and hope that he doesn't change anything so that he can stay longer than his 4 years.
Oh, well, he could do that too. He thinks he can do it.
I know, but I'm hoping not. I'm hoping he gets distracted with something else shiny that he can focus on.
I don't even think he'll get reelected again, though.
Well, I don't think people thought he'd get elected this time either.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah,
I know
that's.
I
I mean, no,
didn't.
he thinks he can change it. He thinks he
Yeah,
can change it. But how is he going to do it? I don't know.
I I have no idea. Like all the things that we thought were true now with the government the way it is down there, that administration, there's things that normally would be true and now you go, I don't like reality is different now.
Oh, big time. Yeah, no, it's like yeah. But one of the things I think it's interesting though, see that, but then of course Canada is saying that they're going to fight back on these on tariffs.
Hmm.
But uh, but then again here, and then they're going to also provide relief efforts, which was announced today, like they did during the COVID times to people.
Yeah, and I think it's a start. I don't know how that's sustainable long term.
Yeah, yeah, I don't think it is
Um
because they're going to take it out of taxpayers again.
well, exactly. And then they're going to find people like we're going to go back to the COVID thing where people take advantage of things. And
Oh, and
some
many
people
people did too.
some people take advantage of things, but then there's also people that didn't know they were taking advantage of things. And that's what I feel bad is for these businesses during COVID that um, they thought they were doing everything right and they filled out all the forms and everything else. And then they found out, no, actually, you didn't. Like you didn't do it right. You didn't actually qualify for something. And so then you get penalized for it. And then how do you tell who really knew and who didn't know that they were taking advantage? Like that's a whole nother discussion. But that's who I feel bad for is the taxpayers are going to be the ones that are going to pay for it one way or another.
Well, that's the other side of it as well. Like when you think about when you think about you know like when you think about like the idea of of what happens, right? Where you have people going, what? Okay, like where is it all going to kind of people are going to take advantage of it again, and realistically, I don't know realistically where this is going to go.
No, I don't think anybody does. I think people in rooms different than ours sit there and try and figure out risk and try and predict things, but um I think we just kind of have to trust where they're taking us, which I know is part of the problem. Like people don't trust government, but I just feel like in Canada, you have to trust where the leader is trying to take you, and that someone is trying to make the right decision at the right time, and based on the information we have. And then when that changes, okay, it changes. But and I know like people will get mad and say that again, that's very naive, but um, I I just think we have to see where they're going to go with it, and then we can adjust, or people can speak out about it, or like, and that's why we should be not proroguing government, because people need to be able
No.
to have these more common discussions and question period. Even if you don't get any answers, people need to ask those questions. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean it's I mean, you know what? I find this stuff very fascinating though. Like I really find it very fascinating because um you know um it's because it just like as followers of news and this stuff, it's fascinating as to what's going to be the case next.
Yeah, I think that's why a lot of people get into news, working in news, or some facet of it, because everything was different. Like people always say to me, "What do you miss about working at the radio station?" And I'm like, "That you had no idea what was going to happen. You could
Yeah.
go into work at 5 in the morning and think you knew what your show was going to be, and you knew what you were going to talk about. And even if you had an idea that an announcement was coming, you kind of had a clue of what the announcement was going to be, or someone would leak what it was." And then everything got turned upside down within 2 hours. You'd go, well, that shows out the window. And that's part of what I liked about it, was just having no clue what was going to go on, and the unpredictability of it, and not knowing where the decisions were going to be made. So, um, I don't know. I guess we'll just keep watching it and talking about it, Ali.
Oh, we will. Oh, we will.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. But how does does it how does it like feel to be to be like to be out of the industry, like to be out of the mainstream industry? Does it really feel less of a not less of a grind, but how does it actually feel?
I
Especially because
think,
you were in it for so many years.
yeah. So I was in it for 20 years, which is a lot, but nothing compared to some people that have done it for 40 or 50 years.
Roy
I,
Green.
yeah, I think, I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the work. I enjoyed why I'd gotten into it, but I think I was so exhausted at the end, and just not happy with where I saw things going, and all the things that I thought I would do in the business had changed. And it's not like I'm trying to say, oh, well, in my day, it was just what I thought media would be. It had not become that. It had started to change. And I realized that we couldn't be as creative or have a voice as we wanted, because the bandwidth just wasn't there. And so for me, when I had the opportunity to not be there, I thought, well, I think my health is more important, and the timing was right for me to leave. And so I was given that opportunity to go and go on my own terms, instead of, because I'd been let go before. So I didn't want to wait for that meeting again where I get called in and I know what's happening. So I think, I look at it, and there's days where I go, oh, I miss working in talk radio that day, or I miss working in the newsroom, or sometimes when I'm listening to music radio and I hear them running a really fun promotion, I think, yeah, I miss playing the music and having somebody like a musician in to talk about it, and then doing a contest. But um I miss it less than I thought I would, which kind of makes me sad.
Like, are you having more fun now with like, being on the end of production and all the other things, and even some coaching as well. And
Yeah, I think that's just more where I need to be right now. I always say never that you won't go back because you have no idea. Like even doing this podcast, right? This is fun for me because this is what I want to do. I want to talk to people about things and just have an interesting conversation. So I like being able to do this, but I also like that I don't have to do it 5 days a week or come up with 3 hours of content every day because that's a lot of content. Um, so I think I'm having more fun now and just having I like the flexibility of working from home, but then also just even
yes,
the flexibility of what I work on. Because, when I work with Story Studio Network, I'd work on a bunch of different podcasts. Or the people that I coach, I work on different things with them. So I like that variety, but I think some people would hate that. They like to have routine and they like to know what's coming. And um, I like to plan. So I like that aspect of routine, but at the same time I like that unpredictability more and just having different focuses every day. So that's where I sit on it, but I have a lot of peers that are still working in it and I know it's cuz they're terrified of what's on the other side. Whatever that is, like whatever they're worried of, whether it's um having to be self-employed or not being relevant. I think a lot of people in the business, even if you don't get into it for fame, I think you struggle with, well, today I have all these contacts, but then tomorrow when I don't work here, will I have the same contacts? Or like, will they even want to talk to me? And so people struggle with that because they go, well, if I leave, then I don't have that anymore. But that's up to them to deal with it, or not even deal with it, but just they have to reconcile that before they make that decision.
well, it depends what kind of terms they leave on, right?
Exactly.
If you leave on good terms, then you might be okay.
Yeah. Um, but not everyone gets that choice, or sometimes people are surprised they come in and ask to leave and then that's it. Like, you don't get that chance to say
Well,
goodbye. So
yeah,
hopefully you have your contacts.
yeah. I mean, Jerry Agar's still around, but
Yeah, I always I haven't talked to Jerry as much as I'd like lately, but
yeah,
we're always keeping in touch. And I think he struggles with that because who wouldn't want to be retired? Like, obviously you want to enjoy your life and be retired, but I think for him he really um I think he struggles with not being able to talk about the news and not be able to go after the liberal government. I think he feels like if he doesn't do it, nobody will.
I mean, some people, you know what? Like Jerry, like the thing is that I mean, even somebody like Jim Richards, um, you know, he's a news guy too.
Yeah, I think Jimberly is an interesting situation too because he's always got the most interesting takes on things where it's like I would have never come up with that angle, and that's the cool thing about Jim. But I think he's still a news guy, and I think that's if you look at 1010, the people are there like John and Jerry and Jim. Um, they're still there because like they just love news so much and they love talking about news and talking to other people about it. And that's why it's hard to say goodbye because then you go, well, I could do a podcast or I could do other things, but I don't want to. I want to do radio, right? Especially someone like Jerry, where his first love was radio. And so, how do you then just decide, well, I don't want to do that anymore? And it's tough to make that decision. Like someone like John Moore, who had been doing different things and ended up
John
in
Moore, yeah.
radio, that's a little different, but you can't tell me it's not going to be difficult. It's always bittersweet because you're kind of like, especially for someone like John, like you get to sleep in past 3 a.m. That's awesome. But you miss the rest of it.
Well, and another example, yeah, you've got John Moore, you've got no, and I mean and I mean like I think it's sad when the Mott's, and we've talked about this before. I'm
Hmm.
surprised. It was sad when the Mott's left radio because it was the perspective that you wanted to hear,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Did you ever work with the? Did you ever meet the Mott's? Did you ever work with them?
I didn't work with them for long, so they had left, and then when they were brought back to replace Larry Fedor, they
Oh yes.
for that brief moment in time, I was still working weekends a bit, so I helped them out, just kind of get recon, reacclimated to what was going on at at the station. But at that point, I was starting to not work weekends, so then I didn't work with them as much. But I was able to meet them, and like I used to listen to them all the time. Like they were definitely one of the shows that I used to listen to before I worked there.
What do you think the reason was that? And I do remember that very well. They replaced Larry with the Mods.
Hmm.
What do you think the reason was in your mind? Obviously, we will never know for sure, but what do you feel the reason was for that?
I don't know. Larry was working like 7 days a week. So as much as Larry loved it, I think there was a bit of that just saying, okay, maybe we need to bring in other voices. I think there were some people that felt that Larry wasn't doing the kind of show they wanted because he was doing really long form interviews and doing kind of like I think Larry sometimes is too smart for what he was doing. Like, he had these different ideas and maybe some people didn't feel that that's what they wanted to hear. They wanted more of like that news magazine type show on the weekend, like more of a weekday morning show, but on the weekend. And rather than try to get him to do that, they just decided, well, what can we do to change things up? And I guess Paul and Carol were maybe looking to see if they could get back into radio a little bit. And so it was, well, Larry's already working 7 days a week, so we'll take this off his plate and he can work 5 days a week at CKTB and then we'll bring them back in. But then I think they realized they were way too busy. And so then they ended up leaving too.
Yeah, do you think it was a case that they didn't want to anymore, or that they'd lost? I don't think it was a case where they lost the passion for it, but
No, I think they just were too busy with their horse farm takes up a lot of their time and effort. And I think they just decided that, yeah, this is
are
a
they
lot of
still
work.
around?
As far as I know, they are, yeah.
I don't even know if they would. You know what? I think it'd be interesting to have a conversation.
Hmm.
And their perspective. I think it'd be very interesting. I don't even know if they would do it now, though. With their, I don't even think. I don't know if they would.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I have my doubts.
Yeah, they might have just decided, you know what, that was a fun time of our lives and now we've moved on. You never know.
Yeah, and do you remember they were also podcasting for a bit too?
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah, they were podcasting too, and then for a little bit they were doing the weekends, and then they were podcasting, and
Oh, I forgot. Yeah, so maybe
they
they
gave
were
up the
over it.
podcasting and then just stayed with the weekend mornings for a little bit, and then they gave it up entirely.
Yeah.
And in 1150 CKOC came back, eh?
Yeah, with Kent
Ken,
Chambers in the morning.
yeah, I like Ken Chambers.
Yeah, so do I. I was glad to see that he's the host.
Yeah, and I mean, you know what? And John Biggs is still around. John Biggs is around at late 92 in the mornings.
Hmm.
I'm a big fan of John Biggs.
Yeah, I worked with him for a long time in Hamilton. So when it was 820 Cham the Legend, and then he was on Talk 820, and then they moved him to CKOC, and he was on K Light as well. And I just really enjoyed working with him because very creative, like very creative guy and very nice. But I just enjoyed his sense of humor and that he was always he was always willing to try something else instead of like, no, this is how I do my show. He'd say, well, maybe I'll talk to this guy, or I wonder what this is about. And I
Well,
always
he's a
enjoy
news
that.
guy too, isn't he?
Um, I think at one point he was, but he's done a lot of music radio lately.
Yes. Yeah, yeah. No, Kent. Yeah. So I was actually listening to Kent Chambers the other day for a couple seconds. Um, no, I've been a big fan of Kent. From his he was with Evanoff for quite a number of years too. I think he
Hmm.
left on his own though.
Yeah, probably. I met him randomly at an Evanov Christmas party. I didn't work for them, but a friend of mine said you got to check out their Christmas parties, and this guy never my two friends never took plus one, so they invited me. So I was
Yeah.
everyone's date.
But you
But I
met.
was,
What did you think?
yeah,
He's a
so
nice guy.
it was really cool to be able to meet him and meet other people that I listened to because otherwise I would have never had
Who
that
did you meet there? Who
chance.
did you meet at the time?
Um, oh gosh, I knew you were gonna ask me.
Oh, you did?
I just knew you were going to ask, and then it's like, like the mind is gone now. Um, but I just had such a good time sitting. Like I was there with Doug Cameron and Bob Murray, and then ended up sitting next to
Bob Murray,
Kent.
he's still around.
Yeah, he is. He's not. Is he doing radio anymore? I
I
think
don't know if he's on radio. I thought he
I
was on
think
Facebook.
he's on Facebook. I think he left radio. I think when Light and all and CKPC, all those changes happened. I think then he ended up just saying, "Yeah, I'm done." But maybe he
He
does
was
the
there for a long
odd,
time though.
yeah, voice tracking maybe a little bit. But I think yeah, he's kind of done with that. Just enjoying retirement.
Oh, he'd be a
I
good
think
guy to
he's
chat with too.
yeah. I should hook you up with him because he has a lot of interesting perspective
Yeah,
as well.
please
But
do. Bob Murray. It'd be nice to chat with John Biggs too.
yeah.
Yeah, making some notes here.
Oh, I am.
No.
I'm known for making notes.
Oh yeah, yeah. But yeah. But I think it'll be like interesting. I think to see where the Doug for, and you know what really sort of drives me nuts is all these attack ads.
Yeah, I don't like attack ads because I find like they're not clever. So if you're trying to be clever, I don't find them clever. And I just think that you're speaking to the people that already have an opinion, right? Like you, if I watch it and I'm a liberal, then and I see something against the liberals, well, I'm probably going to think that like that I don't believe it anyway. But then if I'm liberal and I watch something that's anti-conservative, I'm going to go, "See, this is why I don't vote conservative," right? So any of the attack ads I find just play into what you already feel about the party, and I'm not convinced, well, they must work or otherwise they wouldn't do it. But so someone obviously has done the research to say it's worth it, but I just find that it's it's not helping, like it's not swaying me. I've already made my opinion, and so whether I see a commercial or not, like I've already decided who I'm voting for or not voting for. But I don't know if you're the same way, probably, like who you're voting for, and a
Yes.
commercial
Yep.
isn't going to change your mind.
Yeah. No, it drives me nuts though how they just and I think that's what turns people off though.
Yeah, we were laughing during the American election because my mom,
Yeah.
when she's cooking dinner, she enjoys watching Judge Judy.
Oh,
So
she's still around, huh?
she gets a kick out of, I think these are even reruns my mom watches, but we get a kick out of the antics. And so but then we also get a kick out of the attack ad. So it's like a personal injury lawyer and then like a Republican ad and a Democrat ad and then another personal injury lawyer and then like a seniors healthcare ad and then we're back to the same like Democrat, Republican, like, it's just kind of funny. And you go, okay, I got it. But again, like obviously someone's done a study to say that it's um that it's working because otherwise why would they waste all that time and money?
Oh yeah. Yes, exactly. And but that's the really fun part about it. Right?
Hmm.
There where I mean and also like, we were talking about broadcasters too. Ted Wallachin is still, doing his podcast still.
Hmm.
It's great to see that too.
Yeah, I think there is life after radio. It's just and not just either reinventing yourself, but also just kind of saying, okay, well, I think my advice to people that are currently broadcasting that are thinking about doing a podcast is there's no rules with podcasting. You can talk for as long as you want or as short as you want. There's no commercial that's going to interrupt you unless you choose for it to interrupt you. Because I know Jerry Agar hates that. Is just how he'll just be getting into a part of an interview that he's happy with, and it's like, no, you got to break for traffic, or no, you got to break for a commercial or something. So I think that that's something I would tell people is you're in control, more in control of the content. Just what you talk about, because no one's going to say, well, you can't talk about that. Well, I sure can. And then the length of it. But it's also not for everybody. Not everyone wants to get into that. No one, like, dealing with the tech and everything else. Like, it's a lot of work. You've figured out a system, but it's not a turn the microphone on, talk to Becky and leave. It's more than that.
Oh, absolutely, right. Like, and I think too that's that. Yeah, I mean, but I mean, it is a lot of work, but I have fun with it, right?
Oh, sure, but you got to have fun with it. That's the
Yeah. Otherwise,
thing.
it's yep.
Because it's not worth it. And that's what I always used to say about radio too. Like when it starts not being fun, then you need to find something else to do.
And I've got my hands in a lot of things, and I think this is what I just enjoy these conversations. That's what I
Yeah.
really enjoy a lot.
Yeah, you're very busy, Allie. I don't know how you find time to do it all.
Oh, you can see my busyness.
We've just got so many shows and so many things and you're like even just how you work on your emails and you send reminders out to people and I think that's cool. Like You certainly don't sit around going, what am I going to do with my day?
Oh no, no, never, no. That's not me. You'll never. You
No.
know what? I'm never bored. I'll be honest with you. I'm never bored.
Awesome. That's
You know,
great.
I go ahead.
That's great that you're never bored. I think that's really cool because some people are really bored and they don't know how to fix that.
Yeah, no, I'm never bored, and especially on a bad weather day like this, it just makes it more fun for me to be here,
Hmm.
right? So and I have the platform, and I have all the tools at my disposal to do these things.
Yeah, and it's an investment, but it's not it doesn't have to be prohibitive for some people. If you go, well, I can't build a studio, that's fine. Like, do it in your room or do it wherever, and that's okay. It doesn't have to
I've got
cost
one
you a
here.
lot.
I've got one here.
Yeah, exactly. So, um, like, obviously you gotta have the internet. You got, like there's little things like that, but otherwise, like it's available for anybody, which I think is cool.
And you know what the thing I think is too is even when it comes to a lot of these platforms as to how people are going to connect, I think you want to make sure that you're and the thing I've sort of learned also, and also in talking to Carmi Levy, and you probably remember Carmi.
Oh, I love Carmi.
Carmi, you
Carmi's
know
one of my
Carmi, yep.
favorite people.
Oh yeah, yep. Um, that what he always says, or what he says to me, and he's like, make sure that it's you making the decision and not these companies trying to sell you something.
Yeah.
Marketing.
And that's my thing. I do like so much research before I subscribe to a service or something because I'm like, I just don't want to make the wrong decision and then be stuck with it. And that's something you and I talk about all the time is, which platform do you use or not use, or when do you pull the plug and say, okay, I'm going to get rid of it, or, maybe pay more or less for something.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, but you know what? And yes, and I think too, like there are certain platforms are you have to look at the fact that you're getting the best deal for you. That's what I think you
Hmm.
have to look at.
Yeah, that's right. And I think sometimes people will say, no, you got to go with this. Like, what's a good example? Like security cameras out, like a ring camera, right? Like a doorbell
Okay, yeah,
camera.
yeah.
And everybody has a different opinion of what works for them. I bought my mom a ring camera because at the time that was kind of the leader of what everyone knew about. And I thought, okay, like she understands what it is. So I bought that for her and she pays for the subscription and that's fine. But then people will say, no, you got to go with this company or you got to go with that company. And I go, well, at this point, I'm not going to make her change. Like she knows what she knows and it all works and it's installed and that's fine. Um, but you can get people that go down the rabbit hole of that. And then you go, well, you got to do the research and figure out what works for you. And what works for you might not be what works for someone else.
Oh yeah, no, exactly. And we will do another show real soon. Let's do another show real soon.
Yeah, I hope so. I won't wait so long. Well, behind the scenes view, I had no voice, so I couldn't do it. But I'll make sure that I have a voice and book it sooner this time, Allie.
Oh, sounds good. Stay safe, okay?
Yeah, thanks. You too.
And we will be back real soon. I'm back on Thursday actually with Scott Belford of the Walk Off podcast to talk about Anthony Santander. So make sure you be. So I'm sure Becky, you'll be tuned into that.
Oh, of course.
How could we not?